about their existing investment. And this is a huge opportunity. It's a challenge, and it is complicated, but it's a huge opportunity. And I think a little more transparency, a little more clarity, I think is important right now. And when I say right now, in the next few months, they need some sign that this leadership of this city, see this as the top priority. And yes, last night we intentionally kind of put that aside, even though it was one of the subjects, because we had heard it from everyone we've listened to in this community. And it's clearly the first priority by a factor of 10 or 20 or whatever number you want to assign to it.
Well, I asked the question for a whole host of reasons, but hot on my mind is the fact that we had our board retreat yesterday, and a very large part of that was spent on the issue of the flood.
I think the citizens expect that you're going to get it done. I think the business leadership is worried it's not going to get done.
I think clarity was a good word here too, because we're coming in fresh, and we're hearing different things from everybody we talk to about what the status is, and so it is pretty apparent to us that there is some need for a really clear message, a well thought out clear message.
And I would just add on to what Linda said and clarify a little bit of what I'm talking about. This has nothing to do with flood fighting.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing
Mm-hmm.
but the most positive comments in the world about what the city does and the leadership does on flooding. It's not about that. It's about the larger issues that have been mentioned here about the long-term need, the potential for the apathy to continue to grow. I mean, we have got to, and we've got to get people thinking that whatever the hurdles are, it's not an option. We need permanent flood protection.
And I think,
go ahead, Brett.
I think, Craig, the meeting yesterday told us that, Minnesota is up in the air just with financing. They're behind us, but they're financing, and we're going to have to figure that out. And Ron, that's going to go through the legislature. That's going to go through us. But it's obvious that North Dakota is going to have to front load all the financing if we're going to push through it. And that's just something we're going to have to bite, and we're going to have to hope that Minnesota comes through with their 10%. It was obvious with Bismarck and what's going on in Minot that Wahpeton and Breckenridge have sort of snuck in ahead of us. Grand Forks sort of snuck in ahead of us. And I think we need to kind of put our foot down and say, no, we're next. And we need to solve this. And we've never been this far with the long-term solution. We've never in our history been this far along. And we need to continue that, and we need to solve it. And I think we're destined to do that, albeit it's going to be at a $1.3 billion, $4 billion price tag. And we know that it's a process, and we're working hard. And yeah, I think we're going to strive and get through our small hurdle from last night's meeting. And I think it's there, and I think we've got the resolve to do it.
I think, and we all are agreement that diversion is a large component of water management, comprehensive water management. There's other things though, so we've set a goal of 42.5 feet in 5 years. That's kind of subtle because a lot of these dikes are in the backyards. It's not visible. What the most visible thing is, Dave and I went out when they were building our dike out here. Our downtown's value is doubled, and every comment we hear talks about how we love the core and we love the downtown, so everybody knows that's a strength. But when you've got businesses, we asked ourselves, what would happen if a Fortune 500 business came down and sat in our parking lot while they're building that 15-foot clay dike when the water's already up to 30 foot because you got to wait till the water's there for the weight of it. So you got 3 days to do it, and you're basing your city's viability on it. And then about the iconic protection that would show, would demonstrate, yes, we can handle this river. This is what we're doing. We're backing away from the river. We're protecting our core investments, our homes. Plus, we're picking off sectors of the city that can avoid flood insurance. This is one of the sectors we can seal off with that iconic protection. So again, to get people to understand that, yes, we do get it. We know we want a diversion. Best case scenario, that's not 10 years. What are you doing for me today? And when we show that and incorporate functional activities and fun activities into that area, it's the heart of the city. We can build the community center with this protection and an amenity on it, and it'd be iconic, and it would help sell. So when we have visitors come, That's where they want to go, not because it's flood protection, because it's a terrace on top. You have coffee, you go down to the riverfront, you have some fun. You have a sand volleyball court. These college kids are going to love it. Everybody doesn't have a lake place, but we can embrace the river, protect, and we can recruit and retain with this type of iconic protection. And now, after 97, the city asked FEMA for help with the flood wall. The value was so low then downtown that the cost-benefit ratio wasn't good enough. Now they're asking, now that you've doubled your value, it's over $250 million thanks to targeted incentives like the Renaissance Zone. They're saying, yeah, you meet the cost-benefit ratio. What are you waiting for? So we have some opportunity here, and that, I think, can help solve a lot of this flood fatigue, something that says, okay, you guys, you get it.
So I'm glad you asked that question and brought that up, because it was very, in the public setting, it's been, has to be done right away. We don't really know what the answer, we need somebody to tell us what the answer is, just please do that and get it done. And then we kind of went on to talk about other things that they knew more about, frankly. And so one thing I want to touch on is, were there other things that weren't mentioned last night or in the conversation so far that you think are really important to consider when this plan moves forward?
One of the things I would say, and I think we talked a little bit, is to identify who our city is. You know, I don't, again, we're all close in age and proximity. We travel our small circles, and I always question that, even as an elected official, do I know who our city is today? And am I moving fast enough to get to know the ever-changing dynamics and just who's involved here? Who are the players? I saw a lot of players last night that I didn't know existed in Fargo. I didn't know they lived here. And I didn't know they were concerned about these things. So, you know, and I'm around as much as anybody at the table. Some of you are around more, some are less, but our city is changing, and we need to identify who our city is.
So one of the other questions related to that is, were there folks who weren't there last night that we need to make sure and hear from?
You know, I made the same observation Brad did. You know, they were good people. It was an unusual mix. It was, I would think that we would want to make sure that we reached out to the business community, to the economic development people. I didn't see a big representation from that sector, and I think a lot of this plan is going to have very serious implications for that group, and I think that's, you know, I don't know what name to give them, but, you know, maybe the old guard, or, you know, some of the movers and shakers would want to weigh in on where we're going.
And we've talked to a couple of folks, but we'd also be open to ideas about how to better engage that sector if people have them.
One thing, I don't know if this has been talked about, but along those lines, the chamber could host a session like that, and I think accomplish a lot of what Rick was referring to. We would be very happy and honored to do that.
It's a good idea.
Again, one of the major things, we're, you know, well known for our health industry, and per capita, I think we're like third in the country for doctors per capita. New York's #1. But they're having a hard time retaining doctors. So, you know, they ask, you know, in their surveys, what is it that you want to see in a community? And a lot, it mirrors pretty much what we've heard from our community, as far as they want the strong core neighborhoods, they want an interesting community, they want a walkable community, and they want transportation options. And, you know, so again, I think this is an opportunity to build on what we already know, that's not only just from here, but from other companies around the area. But doctors, I know 3 of them right now that just graduated. One's a cardiologist, 2 radiologists. In Minneapolis, they pay them the same amount of money, $400,000 a year, but they give them 8 weeks off their first year, 10 weeks their second year, 12 weeks their third year, 3 months off, because they have the money, but they don't have time to go spend it. so they want to do that. Those are opportunities that we can use to recruit and retain. So you may need more doctors, but giving them more time off is as valuable as more money. So I know, John, it's up your alley, but to keep these quality physicians coming to Fargo is important, because you got it, along with good education, public safety, health is probably number one that people are looking for, especially as you're raising your family or entering your retirement years.
And we didn't have many from the health community there last night. I don't know if anybody was there.
Mahoney.
Oh, Dr. Mahoney, yeah. But, yeah, Sanford should have certainly been representative, or a doctor or two, or, yeah, there were pockets we didn't have.
Greg, going to your things that chamber can do, one of the things that have frustrated me within the last 6 months or so has to do with the North Dakota legislature and some of our Fargo legislators and our relationship with higher education. I think there was a lot of frustration at NDSU over some of the legislative leaders from Fargo who did not step up to the plate very aggressively, at least, in terms of helping higher education, and most notably NDSU.
Well, you know, we certainly, higher education, NDSU has become a new focus for the chamber. We have Dean Brashani coming on our board. I put together a small task force during the legislative session that was chaired by Steve Scheel and other, and so we are getting actively engaged in that arena, and are also interacting with legislators.
John, can I add something about that? There's going to be a huge change, too, in the North Dakota legislature because of the last census. Cass County and the city of Fargo is going to have a lot more clout in the upcoming legislative, and I think that's an opportunity, and I don't know if this is the correct venue, but I mean, for us to have, no matter what party they're involved in, but to hold them accountable, our local legislators to look out for our best interest, because up to this point, they've kind of gone out there and we don't really pay much attention unless they do something to really upset us. Whereas I think we as a city can be much more involved to hold them accountable for, hey, are you looking out for our city and NDSU and all those? So to me, I would like to see us more involved as a whole group, and no matter, nonpartisan about key issues, and say, we're going to keep track of you and how you voted on those. So anyway, that's, once again, I don't know if this is a correct venue, but.
It may not be the right venue, but I don't think that we have done a good job. I think other cities' legislators look out for their city and for education in their city and higher education. I'm not sure that we've ever crossed that threshold as far as our legislators are concerned, and particularly higher education.
Well, I obviously have to speak. But, you know, and before John and Dave talked, when Craig said that too, I think there is a little disconnect. And I gathered that when I first got on the state senate. I've only been on about one session. That there isn't a lot of communication there. You don't see the legislature too much. I don't think it's a fault of either side, but I think there needs to be communication. You learn real quick as a legislature. You kind of go to what you're invited to, but you don't go beyond that too much, because you can very easily get overwhelmed. Now, I'm in a unique position, and I think it's good being on a public city board, too. It automatically includes me on other things, and it gives me a different perspective. But after Craig was speaking, I really think there should be a meeting, this is too soon, but as it gets farther on, the Fargo legislatures, see if they'll come. Make a concerted effort to engage